Hello everyone, welcome back to another lecture on Basics in News Editing. In the last class, we were discussing the do's and don'ts of writing headlines. Let's continue with what are the certain don'ts in writing headlines. The first thing that I would like to discuss today is when you are writing a headline, you should avoid fat headlines. What is meant by fat headlines? You know the meaning of fat. So does that have any significance here? Let's read the definition given here. Fat head means the space between the letters are so crowded that there are no more space between them, or that the spaces are so small that several words read as one. You can see an example here. It is mentioned here. This is the example. Can you read it? Because all the letters typed here are so crowded. The so crowded means the space between the letters are too small. Otherwise, there is no space between the letters. So, it will be difficult for us to read what it is. Actually, the actual headline is BSP launches drive. This is the headline. So, if you want to make it a meaningful headline, we have to provide space after BSP, and after launches, here we have to provide another space. So, we have to provide space in between these three words. But if it is written like this, it will be a fat headline, and this thing that we have to keep in mind. So this is a kind of headline that we should not use in headlines. I hope it is clear to you. The next thing is thin head. The thin head means the space between the letters or words, or the space after the words in a line, are so wide. Thin head is exactly opposite to fat head. See, here after every letter there is a space, too much space. This one is also meaningless. The same headline, BSP launches drive, that is the headline, but here they have given too much space between the letters. So this is known as thin head. The next one is label head. Label head means it's an incomplete headline. See, Christmas party. Suppose if you see a headline in a newspaper which is written like this, Christmas party, does it have a meaning? No, it is a kind of a product name. Amul, Milma milk. So what is, or Milma milk price increase. So that is the headline. That is a meaningful headline. It's a complete headline. But if you have seen a headline which is written simply like this, Milma milk, then that is a label head. It is an incomplete headline. That thing that we should not use in a regular headline. Then wooden hand headline. A very weak headline that is devoid of meaning, sometimes due to the absence of a subject or the lack of a verb. Label head is also an incomplete headline. Similarly, wooden hand is also an incomplete headline which do not have a meaning. Why it doesn't have a meaning? Because probably because of the lack of a subject or a verb in the headline. To hold excursion. Is there any subject here? Is there any verb? No. So headline which do not have a meaning due to the absence of a subject or a verb is known as wooden hand headline. We should not use it in regular headlines. Then, the next type of headline that we should avoid is mandatory head. It gives a command because it begins with a verb. Whole dialogue with principle. Here, this headline has a verb. So if you read this uh, explanation, sometimes it is the presence of a verb gives meaning to a headline. Here we can see a verb, but it should not be used. Why? Because it is a command. Usually we don't prefer command commands as a headline. So that is what is known as mandatory head. And the final one is screaming head. It is a big and bold headline of a short and unimportant story. A sensational head is another kind of screaming headline. So screaming headline means a bold headline of a short and unimportant story. Sometimes some stories are not significant at all. It's insignificant. So that kind of headlines is known as screaming head. Then let's discuss a few more factors that we should avoid in writing headlines. First one is don't tell the same thing even though you use a different word. Let me ask you, if your mother used to say same thing uh, every day, you seems it's so annoying, isn't it? Why? Why are you saying the same thing again and again? You will feel boredom. So here also, do not tell the same point again and again in a news. Sometimes you will use some other vocabularies, but it doesn't change the meaning. So that thing that you have to keep in mind. Do not repeat the same concept. Then don't comment directly or indirectly. Avoid editorializing even in headlines. A news headline or a news article, it means it is a report of an already happened incident or a event that is to be happen in future. There, the writer cannot express his or her views in it. Okay, they can comment their own opinions. They have to report the news as it is. Even if you're, but in the case of editorial, there you can mention your personal opinions. So, when you're writing a headline or a news item, the writer should not use personal opinions. Then, do not end a line with a preposition. When you're writing a headline, it should not end with a preposition. Don't break off abbreviations, name, and hyphenated words. Sometimes we use abbreviations, name of a person, some hyphenated words, etc. Do not try to break off. Write as it is. Then avoid repeating principal words regardless of the number of deaths. Do not repeat the words. Sometimes when you read something, even if it is a headline or the headline of a story or a sentence or a dialogue, sometimes we feel that it has double meaning. But remember, when you write a headline, It should not convey a double meaning. Don't coin abbreviations of your own. Sometimes when you write lecture notes, you used to invent your own abbreviations because if you want to write down what the teachers are saying, uh, sometimes you use or you invent your own abbreviations which are unknown to others. So don't use your own abbreviations in writing headlines. See, PNRC, what is Department Education, BCS, these are not accepted abbreviations. So do not write this kind of invented your own abbreviations when you are writing a headline or a news item. Then don't abbreviate days and months unless figures as given here. So here how it is written Monday. So instead of MONDAY, some person they used to type like this MON dot Jan dot. So this kind of abbreviations are not correct. If you want to write or mention this date exactly, you have to write Monday, MONDAY Monday, then put a comma, January 23. Okay, Monday, comma, January 23. After January, do not put this uh, a period. Okay, then punctuating headlines. What is punctuation? You know that. Comma, question mark, exclamation marks. These are the punctuations. So, how can you use punctuations in a headline? Let's discuss what it is. A few pointers as regard punctuation of headlines should be observed. As a rule, headlines, just like titles of editorials, features, and literary articles, should not end in a period. So remember, when you are writing a headline, it should not end with a period or a full stop. You might have noticed the same when you are reading a newspaper. Whether it is a Malayalam or English daily, you cannot find a headline which ends with a period. See, let's see certain rules. Use of comma. What's the use of comma when we are writing a headline? The first use is to save space, or instead of conjunction we use comma. It will help us to save space. See, for example, self-reliance, discipline, a backyard confab. This is a headline. So usually when we write this sentence, we write like this: self-reliance and discipline. Conjunction and will be used in between self-reliance and discipline. But if we are writing the same sentence as a headline, instead of conjunction, we have to use comma, which help us to consume space. Look at these two examples. Manmohan and Sonia to visit Musafa Nagar. But the first one is wrong because in order to save space, instead of this conjunction, here we have to use comma. This is the first use of comma in writing a headline. The second use is to separate news points. See, for example, Congress favors early polls, BJP against it. These are 2 points. It's regarding the early polls before the election. The Congress party they favor early polls, but BJP was against it. Two, 2 points, 2 different points, but the 2 different points are conjoined or separated in a single sentence with a comma. Okay, these are the two important uses of comma in headlines. The second one is use of semicolon. Two related thoughts should be separated with a semicolon. Semicolons are very effective in separating two clauses. For separation, we are using semicolon. See the example: Shinde inducted as Home Minister, Tewari gets cabinet rank. These are two clauses or two incomplete sentences, but both are related. So here we can see two related thoughts are separating with each other. Then, use of colons. A colon is used in place of attributive verb as it saves space. See, center eager to hold polls in March asserts Chauhan. Center eager to hold polls in March. This is a statement given by Chauhan. If we do not use colon, we have to use a verb, said Chauhan or asserts Chauhan. Sorry, we won't use said, we only use says because we only use simple present tense in writing a headline. So, the use of colon in a headline is also to save space. Okay, then dash or hyphen. Hyphen should be used whenever an adjectival phrase is used in the headline. 5-year-old girl, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. When we are using this kind of adjectival phrases, usually we use hyphen. That hyphen should be used in headlines too. The next one is use of quotation marks. Usually we use quotation marks when we are quoting someone's quotes. So what is the difference between single quotation marks and double quotation marks? Usually there is no difference. But when we write a headline, we prefer the single quotation marks instead of double quotation. We can use both quotation marks in regular writings, but in the case of headlines, we are permitted to use only single quotation marks. The next one is use of apostrophe. Apostrophes we used to show the possession. The use of apostrophe should be limited in headlines. It should be used when a word is used in the possessive case. Usually we do not prefer apostrophes, but sometimes we do have to, and it is only to indicate possessive case. Actors are found in abandoned mine. Actors or Raju, someone's possession. So in that case, we can use apostrophe when we are writing headlines. Okay, I hope this much is clear to you. And after watching this video lecture, what you have to do is you have to write your own notes in your notebook. Last week I have shared the PPT with you, but these points are not there. I have edited the PPT once again. So you have to watch this video lecture carefully and prepare your own notes. In case if you have any doubts, share your doubts with me. I will help you to clear it. With this, I'm winding up today's lecture. Thank you.